Since the NBA has come back, we've seen 50-point games, we've seen buzzer beaters, and, we've even seen some guys have some pretty unfortunate injuries. But what's really exciting is that these seeding games have given us lots of highlights, and I'm not talking about from the usual suspects. The guys I'm talking about are up-and-coming players, guys who you may have wrote off as total scrubs who are using this time at the bubble to prove they belong in the NBA. In today's video, I'm telling you about some players who a lot of basketball fans aren't even that familiar with, but are proving to be difference makers to their teams during the NBA restart. How's it going, everybody? This is Troy, host of the Half Court Report YouTube channel. Thanks for being here today. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you sub to this channel. Trying to get to 10K subs by the end of the year. New NBA content on this channel all the time. Okay, so I know the title of this video is talking about scrubs playing like all-stars. But let's face it, what we'd call a scrub in the NBA is going to drop like 50 points on you or me. So before you get upset that I'm calling these guys scrubs, maybe let's just agree that these are players who nobody really expected to be making the type of impact that they're making right now on their teams. The first guy I want to talk about is Michael Porter Jr. of the Denver Nuggets. If you're not familiar with Porter's story, it's pretty interesting. He was one of the top players coming out of high school a couple years ago. He was projected to be one of the top picks in the draft with Luka and Jaren Jackson and DeAndre Ayton. But he got some injuries his 1 year at the University of Missouri, only played about 3 games, and as a result, fell down draft boards, was picked very last pick of the lottery by the Denver Nuggets, and it is turning out to be a steal because Michael Porter Jr. is showing that he belongs in the NBA and he should have been picked way higher than what he was. So he sat out all of last season, very similar to how Ben Simmons sat out a few years ago, just rehabbing injuries the whole year. But ever since the NBA restart, Michael Porter Jr. is just coming on like gangbusters. This guy is playing like a man possessed. He's earned the starting job for the Nuggets, who are dealing with some injuries to some other players, and he's become a primary scoring option for them, averaging over 25 points per game in these seeding games so far. He's improved his three-point shot. He is a legit weapon from behind the arc. He can attack off the dribble. He's got length to finish in the paint. The guy can do it all, and he's still so young. In fact, this week he broke the Nuggets rookie record for points in a 2-game span. He had back-to-back 30-point games, and he's also rebounding. He's had some double-digit rebounding games as well. He's really showing that he can join Nikola Jokic as a franchise cornerstone for the Nuggets. Next up is Trent Jr., and this is why you got to pay attention to the Half Court Report YouTube channel. I talked about Trent a couple weeks back as a player that we need to be watching in Orlando. He is stepping up, especially in the absence of Trevor Ariza. He's really giving the Blazers another scoring option. He can shoot it from deep. This is Trent Jr.'s second year in the league. He was more of a bit player his rookie season after being a second-round pick out of Duke. Once he's gotten more consistent minutes in his second season, he's become more efficient, and his game is taking another step forward in the bubble. So far in seeding games, he's averaging about 20 points per, close to 60% shooting, and over 60% from three-point range. Check this out. He's hit at least 4 three-pointers in 4 consecutive games. And he's proven that he can play well with Dame Lillard and CJ McCollum. That 3-man lineup has a net rating of almost plus 20 in the minutes they've played. This next player may upset some people. Grayson Allen has, for lack of a better word, been hated by a lot of basketball fans for a few seasons, ever since he had those tripping incidences when he was at Duke. But by all accounts, he's a great teammate, and he's really showing what he can contribute to the NBA. Since the Orlando restart, he's really showing a defined role with the Memphis Grizzlies. Remember, he came over in that Mike Conley trade last summer. He's been a bench player this year for the Grizzlies, and he even had a hip injury that kept him out for a couple months. We didn't think he was going to come back, but because the NBA got delayed, he's now fully healthy, and he is lighting it up, especially from beyond the arc. averaging over 14 points per game, about 60% shooting, and close to 70% from three while he's in the bubble. He's showing that he can be a valuable player off the bench who can score in bunches. He's also a little bit of a liability on defense, but he's showing that he can be protected defensively by guarding that opposing team's second unit talent. Let's talk about Troy Brown of the Washington Wizards. I'm always going to want to talk about a guy named Troy, because hey, that's who I am too, right? Even though the Wizards aren't doing that well in the bubble, Troy Brown is showing that he's a player in this league. He's 6'7", he's a wing who can do it all. In Orlando, averaging about 16 points per game, almost 7 rebounds, over 5 assists. One of those players that I like to call a Swiss Army knife kind of guy, can really do it all. He's got size, he's got length, he's got a really good motor, and hey, while you're at it, check out his Life in the NBA Bubble YouTube channel that he's got going on. Not quite as good as Matisse's channel, but it's also pretty entertaining. What really stands out to me is his playmaking ability, almost acting like a tall point guard when he's out there. He's got vision that's been on full display in Orlando, and he's really able to break apart those defenses and make the right plays for his team. I want to talk about Danuel House with the Houston Rockets. This is a guy who played in the G League for a few seasons, finally got his big break with Houston a couple years ago, and signed that contract over the summer. He's 27, so a bit older than other guys on this list, but he's showing that his experience is making a difference in Orlando. Mike D'Antoni started Danuel House for most of the season, and since he's been in Orlando, he's been responding in a big way, almost 17 points per game, shooting close to 40% from three. House has shown to be much better as a starter than as a reserve, so it's going to be interesting when Eric Gordon comes back from injury. Are they going to bring Eric Gordon off the bench and keep House in that starting role? I got to talk about the San Antonio Spurs on this list. KELDON Johnson is a rookie for the Spurs, and he's also contributing. This guy hardly played at all for the entire year, but once we've gotten into the Orlando bubble, he's playing a lot. Almost 25 minutes per game and shooting 60% from two and adding in a few three-pointers as well. KELDON Johnson was drafted in the late first round last year. He came from Kentucky, where he played with Tyler Hero, PJ Washington. You can say that those guys have definitely had better rookie seasons so far, but KELDON Johnson is showing that he's also a guy that we need to be taking notice of. He's got energy, he can compete, he's a physical player, and he's really showing his development as a shooter, which has allowed him to crack that Spurs rotation. He's 6'5", so he can play the two, he can play a little bit of small ball three, just one of those 3-and-D wings that you want to have on your team and that can contribute to a winning style of play. Finally, I want to talk about Aaron Holiday of the Indiana Pacers. So Aaron Holiday is the youngest of the Holiday brothers, Justin Holiday, Drew Holiday, and Aaron Holiday. I guess they ran out of J names by the time they got to Aaron. Aaron Holiday is a point guard for the Pacers. He's in his second year and is showing that he can be a valuable contributor to a playoff team. Since the NBA restart, he's averaged about 35 minutes per game and upped his production all across the board. He's averaging about 15 points, over 5 assists, and only 1 turnover, all on 50% shooting. This is important because Victor Oladipo and Malcolm Brogdon, the main guys in the backcourt for the Pacers, are still trying to find their groove since the NBA restarted, and they're already without Sabonis. So the Pacers need guys like Holiday to step up and fill a role. That's going to do it for today's video. You guys let me know what you think in the comments, and if there's any players I missed that you'd like for me to talk about. What players are standing out to you in the NBA bubble? So make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, new videos all the time. Thanks so much for watching. This is Troy with the Half Court Report, and I'll see you next time.